God is using this video series you have made to give me insight into the difference in between a relationship with God and a religion called Christianity that sadly is taking place in this world today. There are some things about your story that don't make sense. I'm going to try to point those out also.
Raised in a Pentecostal family, in a Pentecostal church. I grew up immersed in a church environment, and at first it frightened me a little. I didn't think of it all. But
okay, this doesn't make sense for two reasons. One is you said that you were born into this environment and you were immersed in church from an early age, before 6 or 7, because in a few minutes you tell us that you were saved at 6 or 7. During this time, I guess after you were cognizant, self-conscious or aware, and before 6 or 7, you were afraid of or in fear of what was going on in the church, and that doesn't make sense because you were raised in that environment. Usually people aren't bothered by the environment that they're raised into. It's one that's different from that.
the first time I got saved, I did get saved multiple times.
This getting saved you're talking about is a religious exercise. See, getting saved that born-again Christians refer to, I mean children of God, I'm going to have to differentiate here because you're using the same terminology that normally children of God use. Okay, but if you become a child of God, once again, you don't ever have to become a child of God again. It's a one-time deal.
Royal Rangers. I thought it was the greatest thing. Kinds of cool things to learn how to do in Royal Rangers. And another important thing that Royal Rangers provided for me was a code of ethics.
Okay, the problem I see here is that you loved Royal Rangers and you considered them to be the greatest thing. In other words, you've made an idol out of the Royal Rangers. Another thing is this idol is giving you your code of ethics. That should have came from your parents and God, or from God through your parents. You shouldn't need an organization like this that you idolize so much to provide you with a code of ethics. Okay, this is stuff that you should be learning from your parents and then from God.
These meetings, when I was at a very young age, probably 6 or 7, when my commander asked us if we wanted to become saved. And by this time I'd heard a lot.
So here you're not really seeking the Lord, you're just seeking a good time in the Royal Rangers, whom you really love and consider to be the greatest thing. And this adult coerces a bunch of you guys into saying the sinner's prayer. I'm against this kind of evangelism.
And that's when I officially became a Christian.
One thing's for sure, that's when you officially started identifying with the name Christianity. Whether or not you're a child of God is still up for grabs. I mean, you know, but this is the point in your life where you started saying you were a Christian for sure.
I would pray, and I would feel like I would hear answers from Him.
Our feelings about what we receive in prayer or anything else are not really a good foundation for a relationship with the Lord, or I should say a walk with the Lord. And I'm talking about a walk that's going to endure through life, not something that you're going to do for a little while and then put down, if that's what you've done here.
Understanding God's plan for me.
What was His plan for you? To walk with Him for a little while and then turn away? I don't understand. What was His plan for you?
Literal belief in a spiritual realm that's on top of the natural realm. And I definitely believed in this. And I felt spiritual energy in my life. And
feeling spiritual energy is not a good foundation for a walk with the Lord that's going to endure through life. Satanists and other people who worship demons feel spiritual energy, yet they're not walking with the Lord.
Jesus isn't so peaceful, but didn't really pay attention to those verses.
This is funny because you're kind of making a case that Jesus wasn't so peaceful from the Bible, and in just a couple of videos you're going to tell us you don't believe in the Bible.
Big thing that happened for me as a Christian, and what I tended to see as one of the pinnacles of my connection with God was I tended to see as one of the pinnacles of my connection with God was becoming baptized in the Holy Spirit.
An experience like you're about to describe is not a good foundation for a walk with the Lord.
Passionate, something very sad. I don't remember exactly what it was.
Moreover, an experience that's so vague we can't even remember what it is.
That we would feel the Holy Spirit calling us to be baptized, and we had to have the courage to answer that call. I had to go out there. And so when he asked a second or third time if anyone had felt that calling,
Okay, this is more religion, more coercion, more religious experience. Okay, at Pentecost, when the Holy Spirit fell on the apostles and disciples, they didn't have to think about it or decide if they were being called. It happened to them. You know, the guy told you all how it was going to be and everything, and then had to ask 2 or 3 times before you went up there. It's a kids camp, and you got an adult father figure who's just begging, you know, for y'all to do something. What do you think's going to happen?
Overwhelmed with I can't even remember exactly what the feelings were. I don't remember if it was joy or fear or a combination, but
the pinnacle experience of your relationship with God at this point, defined by a situation you can't remember what the guy said, and by feelings that you can't remember what were. It's all just kind of a vague cloud of smoke in your mind, I think.
in case I was immediately speaking in tongues.
Okay, was there an interpreter? Was there anybody that could understand what you were saying? Because at Pentecost, the gift of tongues was given so that people who didn't understand the language that the apostles were speaking could understand the message of salvation. Okay, and Paul said if there was going to be anybody speaking in tongues, that there needed to be an interpretation. Did anybody interpret, or was this just that just unknown babbling that Paul talks about?
I had established this strong connection with God.
You got it backwards. We don't establish a strong connection with God. He does the establishing. In fact, the whole experience that you just related to us is very narcissistic. It's all self-centered. It's not about how great God is. It was about your experience, this religious experience.
Caused a lot of meaning in my life and very strong emotions.
Strong emotions are not a good foundation for a walk with the Lord.
The thing that I always had trouble with as a Christian was witnessing. I knew that we were supposed to witness. It was something that was in the Bible, but I always had trouble with it.
You knew you were supposed to witness, but you didn't want to. I'm going to suggest to you that this is because you didn't have anything to witness about. There was no personal testimony of what Jesus had done in your life because he had not changed your life. Yet.
You could reach more people than you could possibly reach as like a one-on-one Christian.
You know, we can't really reach anybody through any means. It's only God that does the reaching. And as far as on the internet goes, how much witnessing do we really get to do? You know, it's a good place to go and argue. I can assure you of that. And I imagine that's what you spend a good time of your time on the internet doing, as you do now. Although it does seem like from your views that you're reaching a lot of people now for the enemy.
Like that was where I hope this convinces Christians that I was the real deal on this.
I don't know about anybody else, but you have convinced me that you have had a lot of religious experiences. But your fundamental misunderstanding of the fact that you cannot be a child of God and then not be a child of God makes me think that it never went beyond the religious experiences that you described.
Truly believed, truly wanted to believe Christianity was the most important thing in my life.
Not Jesus, Christianity.